Welcome back to Full Circle, Florida. One of the key principles in the art of war is that the greatest victory is that which requires no battle. Well, it seems like we're a long way from diplomacy at this point between Israel and Iran, but the question now becomes, will it get worse before it gets better? Here's my conversation this week with ex-CIA analyst and author David McCloskey.
This is an Israeli decision to make, whether and how they'll respond to what Iran did.
How does the U.S. avoid a full-on war spilling across the entire Middle East?
Whether or not we are confronted with a more significant regional conflagration than the one we have today, that is primarily a decision that's going to be made in Tel Aviv and Tehran.
I thought it was interesting the way Iran, launched this drone attack, and then they put out this statement that said, okay, we're done. The matter's concluded. I mean, what was that about? I mean, do they not think that Israel is going to respond? It just seemed almost like passive aggressive in a way, and they probably knew they had the capability, Israel, to shoot down their drones.
Well, I think the Iranian attack was designed, in my opinion, to walk this kind of narrow path, right? On the one side, they were hopeful, I believe, that they would strike military targets in Israel or even civilian targets, that there would be casualties, that there would be destruction, that more than, one or two of these projectiles, the drones and the missiles, would make it through. So I think they were hoping to deliver more than they did. The rhetorical side of things afterward that you mentioned, where they're saying, hey, we're done, they want this, they do not want the Israelis, they prefer that the Israelis not escalate this further. I think they want the response to the Damascus consulate attack to be complete and done, and they can go back to the way the shadow war has been fought. But I don't know if it's going to go that way.
Why is the United States so afraid of Iran?
Well, I don't think we should be as much as we seem to be as of late. But Iran is a country of 80 plus million people. It has capabilities, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, otherwise, to do real damage throughout the region. And they're on the cusp of having a breakout capability for a nuclear weapon. They also have, a big network of allied militias, clients, proxies throughout the region that adds real strategic depth to their foreign and military policy. So these are not, these guys are not 12 feet tall, but they're also not 3 feet tall.
At what point, David, does or even can the United States try to encourage or at some point force a change in leadership in Israel if Benjamin Netanyahu does not heed the warnings to stop what's happening at Gaza at some point? What is the end game here?
I don't know. This is the problem, right? You fight wars, or you should fight wars, to achieve political objectives. And I think inside the Israeli, cabinet now, it's very hard to suss out what exactly do they want. At the end of this conflict in Gaza, you have calls from the more kind of far right side that Gaza should essentially be reoccupied. You have calls, which I think are dead on arrival, that the Palestinian Authority would play a greater governance role. In the midst of all this, you have the very real fact that Hamas has been militarily degraded but not destroyed, and as a political and authoritarian political entity is likely to retain control in Gaza when the dust settles. These factors, these are realities that the politics have to deal with, and I haven't seen much on the Israeli side or on our side that suggests there's a real plan for how to deal with those.
Yeah, I guess one of the top rules in war is what are you trying to achieve? David McCloskey, former CIA analyst and author of Damascus Station and Moscow X. Thank you, sir, for your time and your insight. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's bring back our panel once again. Janelle Irwin-Taylor and Dr. Susan McManus. Is the Middle East the biggest X factor in this presidential election?
Not necessarily. There's so many things. Cybersecurity attacks, the economy cratering, even the candidate status. Something could happen to the candidates. But of course, right now, it's on the minds of a lot of people.
It seems like it's, Janelle, the one thing we have the least amount of control over in some respects.
Yes, in a lot of respects. And I think that this is a topic that you're going to see be more of an issue for Biden than for Trump, and for Democrats more so than Republicans, because you have such a split opinion amongst the Democratic voter electorate, where you have some people who are very much, they understand that we need to toe the line with Israel, but they're also frustrated with the humanitarian crisis that's unfolding in Gaza. So I think that's going to be something to watch, especially on Biden's side.
Speaking of Trump, the trials this week, they seated the jury. Is he going to make a campaign out of this? He went to the bodega, essentially targeting New York's, what many would consider out-of-touch crime laws. Is this the stops? Is this how he makes a campaign out of this through the calendar year?
He's going to have to do that if the schedule is as it appears right now, but he's obviously can walk out the door and get immediate publicity. The thing that he's got going for him in a way is the fact that he is a former president. Everyone knows him and where he stands on issues.
I mean, you just can't understate the earned media that he's getting from all of this. I mean, he gets to walk out of court every day and play the witch hunt card and say that he's trapped in court, and his supporters eat it up. And then even people who are on the fence with him, who lean conservative, are, they're really believing that the justice system has been weaponized. So that's a narrative that's working for him.
All right. I do want to pay homage to Bob Graham. He passed away this week. What is his lasting legacy, and what can we learn from someone like that, our leaders in particular?
People clamor today for what he represented. A person of genuineness, integrity, intelligence, but most of all, the ability to communicate effectively and meaningfully with the constituents.
He was loved on both sides of the aisle.
David Johnson, a Republican consultant, he penned an op-ed for Florida Politics this week on Governor Graham's passing, and he told this wonderful story about all of these Republican consultants singing Bob Graham's campaign song with him. Wow. That encapsulates who Bob Graham was. He knew how to reach across the aisle, and literally everyone loved him.
Bob Graham, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Susan. Thank you, Janelle. Thank you for being here. And we'll be right back with our final thoughts.